Alright, so now we have some Shadow Makers. Coolest name for the lamest enemy. Shadow Makers are the only Grabby Ball steal in the game, and the only other source is drops from Dean Glows, which are also missable. They always drop Turbo Ethers and show up in multiples, so they're great for Ether Farm. Like, insanely good for Ether Farm. You're not going to find a better Ether Farm in the game. Just fight these and wipe them out with an Ultima cast, and you get 2 free Turbo Ethers. They're meant to be a support enemy, so all they do is slow. But they only have one formation where they even show up with another enemy, which is this one, the single crazy saw. So they're a pretty useless enemy. Unless you get this specific fight, all they're going to do is just slow you and not deal any damage. A funny coincidence that this enemy shows up in the same area that you get debut item, because it's great for debut item multiplication if you get the fight with just Shadow Makers. Maybe we'll show that off if we get it. I'll join Captain. That damage. So yeah, two Turbo Ethers every time you do that fight. Well, we see Aerith because she brings the life stream to help Holy, but Holy is still going to do its job. So here's the fight I was talking about. We can times 5 this fight, and they will never deal any damage. They're just gonna give everyone slow and then just sit here. So this is a perfect fight to go grab debut item and multiply your whole inventory if you want. And it just so happens to be right before you get debut item. But that's what makes the ending great, is that it's completely ambiguous. Holy still does its job. Aerith appears to use the life stream so that the meteor can be pushed back long enough so that Holy can do its job. And you can make the argument that because Aerith helped, Holy won't take out humanity. Or you can make the argument that, you know, this whole thing was humans' fault, and of course it's going to take out the humans. And there's a reason that there's no humans in the final cutscene and we only see Red 13. And Midgar is a big trash heap. And you can make the argument that even if humanity... Like, if humanity was saved, then they would have done something with Midgar. They wouldn't have just left it. Even in Advent Children, they, you know, rebuild Midgar. But it's not run by Shinra anymore. So it would all that infrastructure, they're not just going to leave it. So there should be humans there, but there doesn't seem to be any humans there. So there's a great argument for both sides, but either way, we don't know for sure. That's the point. As many arguments as you can make for humans definitely survived, there's always that little bit of, well, maybe they didn't. It's supposed to just make you think. It's not, you know, either way. Makes you think. And even if there was, even if you just kind of go by Advent Children and say, like, okay, humans were saved, you can still think to yourself, you know, the world had to make a choice. He could have chosen the other path. What would it pick if the same thing happened to our world? Suggests, but we don't know for sure. That's the point. I think that the kids laughing at the end, like the final thing you hear is the kids laughing, suggests that it's a good ending, for sure. But there's a reason they don't show the kids. Okay. Actually, let's give it to you. I do find it like a funny thought that Holy would wipe the planet of all humanity, but then look at Red 13 and be like, nah, but he's good. Like, we like Red 13. He's cool. He's a cool guy. Everyone else, Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, all the nice people on the planet, Marlene, you know. Red 13, we like him. He's a cool guy. We're going to keep him. Which he is like part of the ancient race that kept the planet alive, so it kind of makes sense, but it's funny to think about. Like, Red 13 gets a pass, but everyone else gets brutally deleted. I'd like to think that if our planet turned on us and was like, yeah, you know what? This whole global warming thing has gotten a little too crazy. I'm just deleting humankind. I'd like to think that it would keep the doggos and the cats, you know? They'd be like, nah, dogs and cats, they're fire. We're keeping them. Humanity, see you later. How's it going, Slog? Keep the dogs, cats can go. How dare you? How dare you, but also, I don't blame you for saying that. I'm a cat person, but I get it. I get it. Cats are kind of mean sometimes. Listen, I'll do you a trade deal, okay? We can get rid of the cats, but we keep the black cats. Okay, because every black cat I've ever met is like the nicest cat ever. Black cats can stay. Orange cats, they gotta go. Every orange cat I've ever met is mean. Except Garfield. Really? Your orange cat? Every orange cat that I've had, not had, but have been in my family have been, like, mean. I just had the wrong orange cats, I guess. Didn't feed them enough, lasagna, I guess. Alright. Now we get to talk about the finale. Yeah, we'll just leave our stuff, I guess. The Turk finale, here we go. So first things first, fun fact about just this fight in general. There's two ways to skip this battle. If you do the Yuffie side quest, then when you start this fight, you will get an option to not fight them. There'll be a dialogue option, and if you pick the second one, I think it is, then you skip this fight. Also, whether or not you do the Yuffie side quest or not, you can always skip this fight. The way it works is you bump up against this column here, and you just slowly walk around the column like this until you're behind it, and then just run forward. And it completely skips the fight. They did not bump up the trigger far enough past this, or like up against this column. So you can just walk past, and the fight never happens. And then, like I said, if we trigger the fight, but we've done the Yuffie side quest, then you get this dialogue option. And you can choose to not do the fight. But of course, pretty much no matter what, unless you're doing like the absolute lowest level challenge where you can't fight this, or if you do the Midgar raid skip and skip all of this entirely, you pretty much always want to do this fight because it's a somewhat easy fight and it has 3 of the best equipment in the game. It has a Zydric, it has a Tough Ring, and it has a Minerva Band. So you pretty much always want to do this fight. Now, let's talk about each one in particular. So first of all, we have Reno. First of all, in terms of the whole fight, once one Turk is beaten, all 3 leave. So Reno is the optimal target because he has the least HP. Although killing all 3 at the same time will give you XP, AP, and Gil from all of them. So the best way to do it is to beat him with like a Summon or Ultima. But if you want to just beat it quickly, then take out Reno. I always thought growing up that Elena would be the best one to target. You figure that she has the least HP. She might be like, she's like the squishiest, and she's the one that jumps into the back row, so you just kind of figure she has the least HP. But turns out Reno actually has the least HP, so he's better if you want to just quickly end the fight. As mentioned before, you can get a Tough Ring from Reno, and it's your last chance to get it. You can get one from Galnica and one here. Reno, once again, continues this Bolt gimmick. So in the very first fight, Reno halved lightning damage. Then in the Gongaga and Galnica, he goes back to taking regular damage from lightning. But in this fight, he actually absorbs lightning. So he's reached his final form here with the lightning gimmick. He now completely absorbs lightning damage. It's probably not because of his gimmick, though, because each one of the Turks absorbs an element. So it was probably just because each one absorbs an element, so they decided to have Reno absorb lightning. But I like to think that it's also part of this growing gimmick throughout the game, where he continues to do stuff with lightning. In fact, it also seems like he's finally mastered the art of lightning, as he also doesn't have his bolt counter anymore. He instead just uses Electro Prod on his own throughout the fight. So throughout the entire game, if you use bolt on him, he absorbs the lightning power and then does Electro Prod or some other attack. In this fight, he finally has the ability to conjure up the electric himself. So he no longer has the bolt thing, which feels like a shame, but also makes sense because he's like in his final form. Having said that, he sucks in this fight. All he does is use Short Staff, and then he has a 50-50 between Short Staff and Electro Prod. The first version, not even the stronger second version, and not the Electro Rod move that can inflict paralysis. And then he also uses Turk Light, but it's the old version, not the better version that confuses. So I don't know why, but they just made Reno really suck in this fight. He has the least amount of HP. He uses Electroprod 1 instead of Electroprod 2. He uses the old version of Turk Light that doesn't confuse. And then he just has a regular attack. So he's been significantly downgraded other than his gimmick of absorbing lightning, he's been significantly downgraded in this fight. He just kind of sucks. And then we have Rude. To go along with the gimmick I just mentioned with absorbing stuff, he absorbs fire in this fight. This is the third and final chance to get a Zydric, meaning you'll have a full set if you steal from each one. Rude has apparently fallen even more in love for Tifa over the course of the game, because in this final fight, he still won't attack Tifa unless she is the last alive, but this time he has an even greater chance, a 2/3 chance to print the ... message and not attack. In the other fights, he only has a 1/3 chance, so he's truly fallen in love with her at this point, I guess. I don't know. Rude also hits like a truck in this fight, and has completely given up on using traditional spells like cures and stuff, and instead he just only uses shoulder tackle and grand spark, so he is by far the most dangerous enemy in this fight. Reno kind of sucks, and Elena isn't that great, but Rude just spams his strongest attacks the entire fight. Unless you have Tifa, then, you know, he's weaker than normal. And then, moving on to Elena, like I said before, for the longest time, I always thought she was the best target in this fight for having the least HP, but she actually has the most HP out of all three, and also moves to the back row, meaning that she takes less damage from physical attacks, so she is by far the tankiest character in this fight. She is the only boss in the game that switches rows, and to go along with the absorption gimmick, she absorbs ice. So she absorbs ice, Rude absorbs fire, and Reno absorbs lightning. She also has the Minerva band for steal in this fight, which is the only one other than the one you can pick up in the Ancient Forest. Since there are random encounters in this room, this fight can actually be a preemptive battle, which is extra funny because it's like, obviously, they know we're here. But if you do get a preemptive battle, Elena will still get the first turn, because her first attack is actually coded as a sneak attack. So even if you get a preemptive, she'll still do her first attack. Her throw attack also has two different versions. One is a shoot element and one is a fire element. And then her only real scary attack is her bewildered attack, which can cause confusion. So what I normally do for this fight is I go grab Steel as well, because I usually do the Yuffie side quest late. I do it right before Diamond Weapon, so I can get Steel as well at the same time. And then I'll use like Steel as well Ultima, or Steel as well Quadric Magic, and then a summon or something to get a bunch of steals on all of them. But we don't have that luxury, so we're just going to have to steal one by one. We did get the Minerva band already. I don't really need a third Zydric. I don't really need any of this stuff because it's not a challenge run, but might as well for fun. I think you can Frog Song pretty much all of them. Let's do this. Wait, they want you to work at your job? No shot. There's a tough ring. Nice. That was really fast. Now we can give him a little bad breath action. And kill Reno. And let's give Yuffie a little revenge on Shinra for the Wutai War. Take that. There's that confusion attack I was talking about, which of course hit red 13, but then he got punched in the face. And there you go. Thank you, Joshua and T-Sales, by the way. Appreciate you guys. Okay. Comet 2 would have hit everybody, and I wanted to focus Reno. I don't think I'm even going to go to Shinra HQ, because I don't really care to get anything there. We don't really care about Kate Sith's ultimate weapon. We could grab the Behemoth Horn, but I'm not using magic with red 13 anyways. So I think we'll just go ahead and go fight Proud Claude. Is that one of the formation slog? You can maybe check that out. I didn't see that before. Alright, the good old Proud Claude fight. So, we got Proud Claude, and then we have his armor, Jamar armor. So, Proud Claude was probably supposed to be translated as Proud Clad, as in clad in armor. And the... Did I put the... Okay, I have it later. This fight has two targets, Proud Claude himself and Jamar armor. The Jamar armor does not protect Proud Claude or give him any stats like defense or magic defense. Instead, it only does one thing. It enables Proud Claude to use Materia Jammer. This would be more apparent if it wasn't mistranslated, because its name is actually supposed to be Jammer Armor. Materia Jammer sounds like a scary move, but instead of giving the party silence or some unique effect that removes the ability to use materia, it just simply gives one party member reflect. So what an absolute waste of life the Jammer armor is, and even honestly this whole fight. It just blows my mind that like that's what it does. So the idea is this is Shinra's ultimate weapon, and like the whole gimmick is they finally figured out the secret of materia, and Cloud and his party has been using materia the whole game to beat everything. So we've created this ultimate weapon that's going to jam their materia. But instead of giving silence or giving like, you know, the code exists in the game to turn off your materia. They do it in the battle arena. So they could have like turned off your magic materia, which would actually make this fight a really cool fight. Imagine if the Jammer armor turned off your materia until you just defeated the armor, and then you got your materia back. Like that would make for a really cool fight. But instead, they were like, what would mess them up? What would mess up their ability to use materia? I know. We'll give them reflect. That way, if they try to heal themselves, it'll reflect off the reflect. Which I guess is okay. But Proud Claude doesn't really do that much damage anyway, so you don't really need to heal that much. And on top of that, it only hits one character instead of your whole party. So, like, it's just the worst attack ever. And there's a whole separate, you know, target that makes that attack possible, and it's just a complete waste of life. Jamar armor is still worth killing, though, because it gives more XP and AP than Proud Claude and the same amount of Gil, which you don't get if you just kill Proud Claude. So you actually, the armor itself gives more XP and AP than Proud Claude. So it's definitely worth killing. You get more than double than if you were to just kill Proud Claude. But, you know, killing it doesn't do anything. I always thought it, like, lowered his stats or something. It doesn't do anything. It just stops him from using a useless move. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all there is to say about this fight. It's awful. To me, this fight is a perfect metaphor for Shinra's inability to do anything. And I don't know if that was the plan with this fight. If it's supposed to be easy to show Shinra's incompetence, or if this was supposed to be like the ultimate Shinra fight and they just botched it. But either way. So yeah, that gave Red 13 Reflect. That's it. That's all it did. I mean, I think it could have maybe even been better if it just gave itself Reflect. That would have been a better gimmick than just giving one of the party members freaking Reflect, and that's it. Also, you ever notice you can look through him when the armor's gone? Like, when the armor's gone, you're supposed to be able to peek into, like, his chest. But the chest doesn't... It's, like, see-through. So, like, you can see the metal bar behind Proud Claude. It's like, there's, like, a hole in his chest now. Unless that's just a bug that happened right now. And that doesn't always happen. That's possible. Yeah, it's slow. It's like... It's just bad. But don't worry. In a moment... There you go, I healed him on accident. He did it. Materia Jammer just ended our whole career. We're going to see an enemy that's even more useless than this guy here in a minute. I'm starting to wonder if that is just like a bug that happened. Okay. Yeah, that's funny though. I wonder if it's like that in the original. Oh no, the 200 damage. What am I gonna do? Oh my god, Yuffie. I'm feeling like it's time for this guy to die. Shinra incompetent. I do tend to use Comet 1 instead of Comet 2, even when there's only one target. I guess I just kind of don't like Comet 2. It is stronger, though. It costs so much MP. Not as much as Ultima, though. Doesn't even have a death animation, by the way. I mean, I guess it happens after the fight, but... It should be like Airbuster, where he does a little, like, bzzzt, and then blows up after the fight, but instead it just fades to black. Alright, so we have 4 pretty interesting enemies here. A lot of these enemies people may not have seen because they only show up in this little area before you run up to Hojo. Pretty often I'll get into fights with like this thing and people in the chat will be like, I've never seen this thing. Because I think a lot of people just run right up to Hojo and don't get into any fights. But yeah, this is the Grosspanzer or Grosspanzer. He has 3 enemies. There's the Grosspanzer Big, the Grosspanzer Small A, Small B, which are these 2 turrets, and then the Mobile, which is the bottom. The parts work just like Bizarro Sephiroth, where they don't actually get turns, but instead they unlock moves for the main body to use. The big part allows Napalm Bomb, the small part allows Normal Shell, and Body Blow is only used if all or none of the optional parts are destroyed. And Deadly Wheel is only used if at least one optional part is alive. Other than that, you know, he's just kind of a big ol' enemy. He doesn't do much. I love how he shakes, though. It's like he's barely sticking together. It's like this monstrosity that they put together that barely functions, but it's just a bunch of big cannon parts. This was like Scarlet just making the biggest, scariest thing she could make. I like how you said it's kinda German. It's kinda German. He's doing a lot of damage. I'm kind of shocked. We are a bit under-leveled because I've run away from a lot of stuff, but did not expect that to do that much damage. Also, we have the Mistile, so we win. No? Hey, we got an 8-inch cannon. Yeah, we got the Mistile, so game over. I think I'll actually give it to you. Although you have the Minerva Band as well. That's fine. I think maybe I should give you something better because you're getting destroyed. But I like the extra damage. Alright. There's one enemy in particular I'm very excited to talk about. Let's see if we can get him. Does he show up here? Or do I have to be on the steps? I think only the Grosspanzer shows up here. Yeah. The other enemies show up here. Alright, this is the Soldier First. These are the Zack enemies. These are the top class soldiers. These are Sephiroth incarnate here. So are they actually strong enough to be Cloud or Sephiroth or Zack, given that they're first class soldiers? Well, the Soldier First is the last chance to get the Shinra Alpha by stealing before it's missed forever. They will counter magic with silence, and they'll use Quadra Cut when below 75% health, and Sword of Doom when below 25% health. And they also have a chance to use Sword of Doom or Quadra Cut once at the start of the battle. And that's pretty much it. Sword of Doom is pretty spooky, though, if I remember correctly. Also, I can show you the 8-inch cannon. They also have a really strange... yeah, okay, that hurt. They have a very strange thing with their animations where they stop, you know, like where their animation ends. They don't go back to home base. I'm not sure if that was intended or not, but they're playing Legend of Legaia for some reason. I'm starting to think that something's wrong with my Cloud. Why does he take so much damage? Like, Red 13 just took 100 damage. Cloud took like 3,000. Is he okay? I mean, the Wizard Bracelet has like no armor, so that could be part of the issue, but... yeah, his defense is really low. Because of the Wizard Bracelet, and because he has a circlet instead of... I could give him, like, the tough ring. But at that point, I might as well just take off the Wizard Bracelet. I'll give you... I'll give you the Aegis Armlet, and I'll give you the Escort Guard. There you go. And he's front row also, yeah, which I'm not attacking with him, so I might as well put him in the back. Okay, 2 more fights here. Give me the funny one. Oh. Give me the funny enemy. Actually, let me go save first, because we're going to do something fun with this enemy. I never knew that you can only get the Gross Panzer here. This is the only fight you get on the screen. Kind of similar to only getting the Tricera tank in Gungaga. Why can't I spell? How's it going, pet friend? Alright, give me the funny enemy. There he is. Alright. Time to talk about this guy, the X-Cannon. So, remember before when I said the big revolver gun guy was the worst enemy in the game because he just sits there and counters, so, but his counter breaks if you only have one character alive? I lied. I don't care that enemy is pretty much impossible to lose to because he stops attacking you once you have one character alive. Don't care. This is the worst enemy in the game, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. So first of all, the original Japanese name of this enemy is Trans-Ultimate Angry Dragon Cannon. For some reason, they changed that to X Cannon, which makes me infinitely sad because Trans-Ultimate Angry Dragon Cannon is an incredible name. I don't know why they changed it to X Cannon. It is not indicative of the power level of this enemy, though. This guy always uses Search for 3 turns, which does absolutely nothing, and then counts down to Dragon Cannon. And I am going to show you how bad this enemy is. So we're going to actually escape from this fight. We're gonna put the run on hold here. I'm gonna close the game. We are gonna load a save from when we first left Midgar. So this save right here. This is when we first left Midgar. We have Cloud, Barret, and Red 13, level 13. We're going to fight the X Cannon with this party instead of our regular party. So I can show you how absolutely dog water this fight is. So he's going to search 3 times, which does nothing. It's just part of his thing. And then he's going to count down to his ultimate attack. So he gets 3 searches, and then he still has to count down after that. So it's like 6 turns this guy takes to count down. The whole gimmick of this fight is he does absolutely nothing but this big, ultimate, grand dragon boom attack. That's all he does. So here we go. 3, 2. We got to kill him before he does this attack. Look at him. He's shaken with power. He's going to annihilate. You have to kill. That's the whole gimmick. You have to kill him before he uses this attack. We better kill him. Oh, no. He's doing it. He's doing his big ultimate attack. The Dragon Cannon. Doesn't even kill our party that just left Midgar. That's all he does. This is this whole fight. He takes 6 turns to charge up that. And that's all he does. What is this enemy? What happened? What did they do? No, it's not fractional damage. Nope. Nope. It just does that little damage. They just forgot to make him do damage. I don't know. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Why does he take 6 turns to charge that up? Obviously, the gimmick is kill it before it does its attack. But it just does no damage. And it's not percentage. You'll see. He'll do it again. He might kill Barret. He's not going to kill Cloud or Red 13. It is a complete joke. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to this enemy. They blew it. They absolutely blew it with this enemy. That was a crit, I think. Yeah. I don't know. What an absolute joke. So I'll show you. We'll go back to our main party now. Run back up here. And let's fight another one. Now look at the absolute hilarious damage this thing does to an actual on-level party. I mean, like, what happened? Did they just forget did they forget a couple zeros? Or what? I mean, you could be here forever. This thing's not going to kill you. And he has 20,000 HP. He's also weak to lightning. And if this wasn't already laughable enough, let's see it one more time. He's like a confetti popper. Confetti popper, the enemy. I love that he just shakes with power, too. Like, you better kill me or you're gonna regret it. 100 damage. And if this wasn't already funny enough, guess what? He is not immune to Berserk. And has no Berserk attack. So if you Berserk him, he breaks. Just like several other enemies. Not that you would ever need to do that. But, yeah. He is yet another enemy that they meant to make immune to Berserk. They forgot. They didn't give him a Berserk attack, so he just breaks if you Berserk him. Big oof. What an absolute joke of an enemy. What an absolute fraud. What a fraudulent enemy. All right. We got one more enemy to find here, and then I think we'll call it there, because this will be a good stopping point before Hojo. Because after that, we got big open map to look at and stuff. We'll probably do the battle arena, probably do ancient forests and stuff. Like I said, your guess. Maybe they forgot to put some zeros. Maybe they just didn't. I don't know. I have no idea. The code works correctly. It's just the attack does no damage. Like, he has good stats too, yeah. Like, everything should be fine. It's just the attack does no damage. The attack ratio is just awful. What is the chance of this guy showing up? Out of curiosity. Kind of rare. He's the rarest enemy. And he only has one encounter. One formation. So this might be an enemy that a lot of you haven't seen before. There he is. This is the Maximum Chimera. The final Chimera battle. But most of them were not called Chimeras. They were called Harpy and I forget what the other one was. So the Maximum Chimera. The regular Chimera was mistranslated to Harpy. Then this enemy that should have been Maximum Chimera is instead Maximum Chimera, which in addition to the Chimera bug being spelled in another way, Chimera. So you had, remember the bug that had the 3 heads, like the spider head and the bug heads? That guy was spelled K-I-M-A-R-A. And then you had the actual Chimera enemy that for some reason his name was Harpy. And then you have this guy who spelled K-I-M-A-I-R-A. So they had 3 chances to get an actual C-H-I-M-E-R-A Chimera in the game, and they botched all 3 of them. He can be morphed into guard sources, but there are several other better ways to get guard sources. He has a chance to counter magical attacks with freeze, but because of what was probably a mistake, the freeze counter doesn't hit the character that did the magical attack, but rather the last character that the Chimera hit with a physical attack. If you haven't used a physical attack, it'll just use it on the center target. So I'll show that off here. So he just attacked Yuffie. So now if I use Comet on him, he'll have a chance to use a freeze counter, but instead of using it on Cloud, he'll use it on Yuffie. Because the AI is wonky. Or I'll kill him in one shot. Because Cloud is too strong. Also, both Harpy and Maximum Chimera don't really follow the typical Chimera gimmick of each head and tail having different elemental attacks. They just kind of have regular attacks. So they kind of miss the whole bus on the Chimera gimmick, but at least the enemy looks cool. And that is that. I think before we sign off and go over to Final Fantasy X, let's check out what Slog was talking about with the Turk fight, because I actually have never seen that before. I'm kind of curious to see it. So let's see. We have... We have this one. Encounter number 841. Where there's Elena A, and then there's like a hidden Elena B. I wonder if this was when they were trying to code her front row, back row thing. So they were trying to like decide how she would change rows, and maybe they had two different Elenas, one for front row, one for back row. Although it still says Elena A in back row, so I'm not sure. And then there's this one, 842. This one looks the same. And then there's one more. This one also looks the same. So let's try... Let's try the first one, and we'll use Pandora's box. Probably make her move first, right? Oh, I already see an invisible one attacking. You see that? There's an invisible one that attacked me, but I can't target it. That's funny. Well, now they'll probably both be on top of each other. Yep, there they both are. So let's try to get her back to the front row. Which I don't remember what the trigger is for her to go back to front row. This is a different area too, yeah. I forget what the name of the background is, but this could have been like another fight with the Turks. There you go. Now we got all four. That looks really weird. The whole crew. So if I escape here, this arena is called Midgar Underground, Sector 4. So maybe there was a planned fight for Sector 4? Weird. I think they were probably just testing the front row, back row thing with Elena, if I had to guess. But who knows? Maybe it's a removed fight. Or a plan they had for another Turk fight. Interesting stuff. Although I don't know when you would fight Elena in Midgard, because you don't even meet her till Mithril Mine. But yeah, interesting. Okay, well, we'll end here for Final Fantasy VII Enemy Trivia. We're going to move on to Final Fantasy X, but before we do that, let's say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube, thank you so much for watching the Final Fantasy VII Enemy Trivia Challenge. Thanks to everyone that's come over to the Twitch and supported in any way or just been here for it live. Thanks to everyone that supported it on YouTube, either through the comments or through buying a Touch Me F mug or joining the Patreon. Really, really appreciate it all, especially the Patreon. That helps so much. So anyone that's joined it, even at the lowest tier, you know, it helps a ton. So thank you. Thanks to everyone who's left comments as well with ideas and stuff. I do have a couple more comments I want to go through and test stuff. So I might have some of that for you next week. But other than that, everyone that's contributed in any way, really appreciate it. It's made us find a lot of really cool things throughout this playthrough. So thank you. You guys are awesome. And I will see you back here in the next episodes of the Final Fantasy VII Enemy Trivia Challenge. Peace.